Hello everyone, my name is Marwan Mortada. I'm a radiologic technologist at Mass General Hospital and I'm completing my bachelor degree at Regis College. In this video, I will be talking about censorship in general and then we'll be discussing how censorship is being applied in some countries like North Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. So let's start with what is censorship. According to Oxford Dictionary, censorship is the suppression or prohibition of any parts of books, films, news, etc. that are considered obscene, politically unacceptable, or a threat to security. Censorship has been chasing men's and women's freedom of speech throughout history. The origin of the word censorship goes back to 443 BC, where the first office of censorship was established in Rome. At that time, the ancient Greeks and Romans believed that good governance accomplished by shaping the mentality of the people. In ancient China, the first censorship law has been introduced 300 years BC, where censorship was used to direct people's moral and political behaviors. One of the most famous ancient historical stories of censorship was that of Socrates. Socrates was sentenced to death in 399 BC with drinking poison as a punishment for teaching the youth generation unorthodox behaviors and characteristics that were not socially or politically accepted at that time. In the 20th century, the world witnessed the longest and most extensive censorship era that was practiced by the Soviet Union. The censorship included 15 countries and it lasted for almost 70 years. Censorship continued to harass people and oppress their rights of expressing themselves in different countries till our current time. In this video, I chose to throw light on censorship in North Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. So starting with North Korea, it is known to be one of the most censored countries in the world. The brutal dictatorship of its President Kim Jong-un made it extremely impossible for the citizens to access information from the outside world. The media there is owned by the government, which means only supportive and manipulative news and shows that support the North Korean regime are permitted. They have their own iPhone version, which is called Red Star 3.0. This phone has limited and tracked access with no availability for international calls. The government brutality led them to sentence whoever tried watching a foreign television channel or listening to foreign radio stations to 5 years in re-education prison camp, and sometimes they can face death penalties. Internet access is only available for selected population and foreigners and some fancy touristic hotels. Another country to talk about in this video is Saudi Arabia. According to Freedom House, which is an agency that monitors freedom in most of the countries, Saudi Arabia has one of the most censored media in the world as well. So the national press media in Saudi Arabia is under direct control of the government, which means nothing could be published or go on air before being censored. Even though the newspapers are privately owned, the government hires in each one of them an editor-chief that controls what should or shouldn't be published. They also have one of the strictest internet practices. Anything that disrespects the royal family, religious leaders, and political decisions is not tolerated and doesn't pass the censor. And in some cases, it could lead to the journalists being banned, imprisoned, or totally shutting down their news offices located in the kingdom. An example of the cruelty of oppressing media in Saudi Arabia is sentencing the journalist blogger Raif Badawi to 10 years in jail and 1,000 lashes with a crime of being with the human rights and supporting democracy and arguing secularism. Turkey also has a big share when it comes to brutal censorship. In 2016, the Turkish government temporarily blocked the internet usage and arrested over 60,000 citizens. 140,000 were dismissed or suspended from their jobs, while five news agencies, 62 newspapers, and 16 television channels were closed after the attempt of overthrowing President Erdogan. In Turkey, the internet usage can be really challenging because of the number of websites that are blocked, for example, Wikipedia, Imgur, and most of the porn websites. Social media websites like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube are occasionally blocked, claiming that these websites were threatening the national security of the country. I've noticed that the purpose of censorship in these countries, I've mentioned in this video, is to keep whoever ruling these countries in their position by limiting knowledge, taking away their freedom of speech, and oppressing their opinions. This is how they make sure that these people in these countries are under the thumb of their leaders. But I believe that the love of freedom will someday put an end of all of this censorship practices. So for this video, I'm gonna cite some websites, um, Oxford dictionaries, Beacon for Freedom, Huffington Post, The Guardian, and Freedom House. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.